Let's start with a quote. "The axe forgets, but the tree remembers." So, they thought they could betray you and walk away untouched. They thought they could replace you like swapping out an old phone for the latest model. They thought they could move on, act like nothing happened, while you'd be left in the dust, questioning your worth. But what they don't know? Karma is already at work. Hey folks, before we go any further, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because what we're about to talk about, it's going to change the way you see this whole situation. Now, imagine this. You're standing in a grocery store, holding a basket full of fresh fruit. You reach for the ripest, juiciest-looking apple, take a bite, and suddenly you realize it's rotten inside. You spit it out, disgusted, wondering how something that looked so perfect on the outside could be so bad on the inside. That's exactly what's happening right now. Right now, they might look like they're living their best life. They might be smiling, posting, flaunting their so-called upgrade. But what you see is just the shiny red apple. You're not seeing the rot that's growing underneath. Because betrayal, my friends, doesn't come without consequences. What starts in deception always ends in destruction. You're sitting there wondering, why do they get to be happy after what they did to me? Why does it feel like I'm the one suffering while they're out there celebrating? But here's the truth you need to hear. People who betray, replace, and discard others like they're nothing. They're not happy. They're just distracted. The late-night doubts, they don't post those. The creeping regret. You won't see that on their Instagram stories. The way their new situation will eventually turn into the same mess they ran from, that's a chapter they haven't gotten to yet. Because here's how karma works. It doesn't show up the moment you want it to. No, karma is patient. It lets them run, lets them enjoy the thrill of their new life. But little by little, reality starts peeling back the layers. And when it does, that's when the regret hits. Right now, they think they got away with it. They think you're somewhere crying over them, waiting, hoping they'll realize what they lost. But let me make this crystal clear. You are not an option. You are not a backup plan. And you sure as hell are not replaceable. And from this moment on, you stop acting like you are. The best part? You don't have to lift a finger to make them regret it. You don't have to beg. You don't have to prove anything. You don't even have to take revenge, because the universe already has that covered. Because while they're out there thinking they traded you in for something better, life is already setting the stage for their downfall. And by the time they realize it, you'll be too far ahead to even notice. So say it with me. I don't chase. I don't beg. I let karma work. Write it in the comments. Own it. Live it. And if you're ready to stop looking back and start rising forward, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because we're just getting started. Number 1, the lie that's keeping you stuck. Imagine this. You're at a carnival, standing in front of the brightest, flashiest ride you've ever seen. The lights are dazzling, the music is loud, and people are lining up, eager to experience the thrill. You watch as the ride starts, spinning fast, flipping, twisting. Everyone on it is screaming with excitement. It looks like the best ride in the entire park. But here's what you don't see. That ride, it's over in 2 minutes. The adrenaline fades, the laughter dies down, and the people who were once grinning ear to ear now look dazed, a little sick, maybe even disappointed. Because what seemed like the most exciting thing in the world, it was just a quick thrill, a momentary distraction, and now they're back on the ground, searching for the next thing to give them that high again. That's exactly what's happening right now. You think they've moved on. You think they're happy. You think they replaced you and never looked back. But what you're seeing is just the carnival ride, the temporary high. What you don't see is what happens after the thrill fades. Because right now, you're stuck believing a lie. You're looking at their life from the outside, watching their smiles, their posts, their new relationship, and convincing yourself that you were the problem, that they leveled up, that they found something you couldn't give them, that somehow you weren't enough. But let me ask you, how do you know they're happy? Because of a picture? Because of a caption? Because of a carefully edited highlight reel? Come on, my friends. You know better than that. People don't post their sleepless nights. They don't upload their regrets. They don't tweet about how they catch themselves thinking about you, wondering if they made a mistake. You think they're winning, but let me tell you something. People who betray, replace, and discard others like they're nothing, they don't win. They run, because that's all they know how to do. They don't fix problems. They escape them. They don't reflect. They distract themselves. They don't face their own demons. They just move from person to person, hoping that a new relationship, a new thrill, a new distraction will fill the emptiness inside them. And the person they left you for, they are not the solution. They are just the next ride at the carnival. Right now, it feels impossible to believe that. It feels like you're the only one hurting, like they're out there celebrating while you're left in the ruins. And trust me, I get it. When you've been betrayed, when you've been replaced, when someone you gave your heart to walks away like you were nothing, it shakes you to your core. You start questioning everything. Was I really not good enough? Did they ever really love me? Why was I so easy to leave? And the worst thought of all, what if they really did find someone better? But hear me loud and clear. They didn't find better. They found different. And different doesn't mean better. Because people who betray, they always chase the next high. And the person they left you for, eventually they'll become just as boring to them as they once thought you were. Because it was never about you. It was about them, their inability to commit, their fear of real intimacy, their addiction to excitement over depth. But let's be real, this isn't just about them. This is about you. Because right now, you're fighting a battle inside your own mind. You're replaying memories. You're stalking their social media. You're looking for answers where there are none. And every time you see them happy, every time you see them smiling with someone new, you feel like you lost. But let me ask you this. How do you lose when you never needed someone who could betray you in the first place? The real loser is always the one who couldn't recognize what they had when they had it. Because love isn't about excitement. It's about consistency. It's about loyalty. It's about building something real. And guess what? People who betray, they don't know how to build. They only know how to chase. So what do? How do you move forward when it feels like they got the happy ending and you got left behind? You do nothing. Because karma doesn't need your help. Time will expose everything for you. One day, that carnival ride will stop spinning. One day, the thrill will fade. One day, the reality of their choices will hit them like a freight train. And when it does, they'll realize that what they ran to wasn't love. It was an escape, a distraction, a fantasy. And you'll be too far ahead to even care. But right now, your job isn't to wait for that moment. Your job is to stop believing the lie that they won. Because the real winner is the one who stayed true to themselves, the one who didn't need to betray, to run, to replace, to feel whole, the one who didn't need a new thrill to feel alive. The real winner is the one who rises instead of chasing what was never meant to stay. So say it with me. I don't lose. I don't chase. I rise. Write it in the comments. Own it. Live it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that you are done believing in illusions. And trust me, what's coming next? It's going to make sure they never see you the same way again. Stay tight. We're just getting started. Number 2. The truth about their upgrade. Imagine this. You're at a car dealership, staring at a sleek, brand new sports car. The salesman is hyping it up. Faster, shinier, more advanced. You take a deep breath, trade in your reliable old car, and drive off in your new prize. The first few days, it's thrilling. The engine purrs, heads turn, and you feel on top of the world. But then, reality sets in. The seats aren't as comfortable, the ride isn't as smooth. The fancy features you were so excited about, they're more of a hassle than a help. And worst of all, you start realizing that the car you traded in, the one you thought was outdated, boring, replaceable, was actually perfect for you all along. That's exactly what's happening right now. They left, thinking they leveled up. They thought they found something better. They convinced themselves that their new situation, their new relationship, their new shiny thing was an improvement over what you gave them. But here's what they don't understand. They didn't find better. They found different, and different doesn't always mean better. Right now, they're caught up in the honeymoon phase, the high of something new, the thrill of fresh attention. They're riding that wave, posting, laughing, acting like they've discovered some grand prize. And you? You're sitting there thinking, maybe they really did find someone better. Maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe I was the problem. Stop. That's the lie they want you to believe. Because here's the truth. People who leave you for someone else aren't looking for better. They're looking for a distraction. They're looking for something that feels different, something that makes them forget what they ran away from. But guess what? The excitement always fades. And when it does, that's when the comparisons start. At first, they won't admit it. They'll keep convincing themselves they made the right choice. They'll laugh louder, post more, make it look like their new life is perfect. But in the quiet moments, when no one's watching, that's when it creeps in. Why doesn't this feel as deep? Why does something feel off? Why am I still thinking about the person I left? Because what they had with you, it wasn't shiny, temporary excitement. It was stability. It was depth. It was something real. But the problem with people like them, they don't appreciate real until they lose it. They convinced themselves they needed more excitement, more thrill, more novelty. But here's what they forgot. Thrill fades. Novelty wears off. Excitement dies. And when it does, all they're left with is the realization that they traded a diamond for a damn rock. And by the time they figure that out, you'll be long gone. Right now it feels unfair. It feels like they get to be happy while you're left picking up the pieces. But let me tell you something. Happiness built on betrayal never lasts. Because relationships that start in deception end in disaster. They think they upgraded. But what they don't know yet, they just set themselves up for their biggest regret. So don't waste another second doubting yourself. Don't sit around wondering if their new person is better than you. They're not. Because what you brought to the table, that wasn't replaceable. They'll realize it one day. They'll compare. They'll miss the way you understood them without them saying a word. They'll miss the way your presence felt like home. They'll miss the way you never had to be a distraction. Because with you, they were safe. But by the time they come to that realization, It won't matter, because you won't be there anymore. So say it with me. I am not replaceable. I am not an option. I rise. Write it in the comments. Own it. Live it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world. And trust me, what's coming next? It's going to make sure they never see you the same way again. Stay tight. We're just getting started. Number 3. Why betrayers always face karma. Imagine you're standing by a still lake. You pick up a rock and throw it as far as you can. The moment it hits the water, ripples spread out in every direction. At first, they're small, almost invisible, but they grow, expanding further and further until they reach the very edges of the lake. That's how karma works. The moment someone betrays you, they've thrown a rock into their own life. They think they got away with it. They think the water has stilled. But what they don't realize, the ripples are still moving, and sooner or later they'll come right back to them. Here's a fact. You don't betray someone and walk away clean. They might look fine right now, laughing, posting, pretending they've moved on without a second thought. But betrayal isn't just about hurting someone else. It's about exposing who they really are. And sooner or later, life makes sure they experience exactly what they put you through. You might be sitting there wondering, why do they get to be happy after what they did to me? Where's the justice? Why do I have to suffer while they get rewarded? But let me tell you something. Karma is patient. It doesn't work on your timeline. It works in silence. Because the way people treat others, that's exactly how life will treat them. They left you for someone else, they'll be left for someone else. They replaced you like you were nothing, they'll be replaced the same way. They betrayed your trust. One day, they'll know what it feels like to be betrayed. And the best part, you don't have to do a damn thing, because karma doesn't need your help. Life has a way of bringing everyone back to the lessons they tried to run from. Right now, they're running from their own guilt, from their own flaws, from the reality of what they did. But you can only run for so long before life catches up. And trust me, it always does. They think their new relationship is solid. But here's what they don't realize. When something starts in betrayal, it ends in betrayal. Because the truth about betrayers, they never change. The same way they lied to you, they'll lie to the next person. The same way they broke your trust, they'll break someone else's. The same way they discarded you like you didn't matter. One day, they'll be the one discarded. And when that moment comes, when they finally feel the sting of their own actions, that's when they'll start remembering you. They'll start looking back at what they lost. They'll start realizing that they had something real and they threw it away for a cheap thrill. But by then, it'll be too late. And you won't need to lift a finger. You won't need revenge, because life will serve them a lesson in a way you never could. They'll experience the same pain they put you through, not because you wished it on them, not because you tried to make it happen, but because that's how the universe works. You reap what you sow. What goes around comes around. You get what you give. These aren't just sayings, they are laws of life. People who betray don't escape karma, they just think they do, until one day they wake up and realize they're on the receiving end of the very pain they caused. So stop worrying about their happiness. Stop checking their page, wondering if they regret it yet. Stop asking when karma will strike, because it will. And by the time it does, you'll be too far ahead to even care. So say it with me. I do not seek revenge. I let karma work. Write it in the comments. Own it. Live it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you are done waiting for justice, because justice is already in motion. And trust me, what's coming next? It's going to make sure they never see you the same way again. Stay tight. We're just getting started. Number 4. Your silence is their worst nightmare. Imagine you're watching a magician perform his biggest trick. The crowd is on edge, waiting for the grand finale. The magician is supposed to pull a rabbit out of his hat, supposed to wow everyone with his illusion. But then, nothing. The stage is empty. The magician disappears without a trace. And now, the audience isn't just confused, they're obsessed. They were expecting a show, expecting a reaction, expecting some kind of dramatic finish, but instead, they got silence. And nothing is more unsettling than silence. That, my friends, is exactly what happens when you stop reacting to someone who betrayed you. They expect you to beg. They expect you to cry. They expect you to try and prove that you were worth keeping. They expect to see you struggling, stalking their social media, posting sad quotes, searching for closure. Because in their mind, they still have power over you. But the moment you give them nothing, that's when the real panic sets in. Because silence isn't weakness, it's power. And when you remove yourself from their reach, when you don't feed their ego, when you don't fall into their little game, they lose control. And let me tell you something, nothing haunts a betrayer more than knowing they lost power over the person they once controlled. Right now, they think they still have access to you. They assume deep down that you're still watching, that even if you're not reaching out, you're still thinking about them. They believe they can come back any time, that they left a mark on you so deep that you'll never truly move on. But what happens when they check for signs of you? And there's nothing. No posts about them, no sad cryptic messages, no reactions to their new relationship, no energy directed their way at all, just silence. At first, they'll act like they don't care. They'll laugh louder, post more, do everything they can to convince themselves that they made the right choice. But inside, they're spiraling, because suddenly they don't know where they stand with you anymore. They don't know if you miss them, if you've moved on, if someone else has your attention now. And that unknown, it will eat away at them. Because people who betray you don't expect to be forgotten. They expect to be remembered. They expect to have a place in your mind, in your heart, in your life, even in your pain. But when you give them silence, when you disappear, not as a broken version of yourself, but as someone who simply stopped caring, that's when they start questioning everything. Did they really move on that fast? Why haven't they tried to talk to me? Did I really mean that little to them? And let me tell you, that thought haunts them more than anything, because the human mind hates uncertainty. It would rather know you hate them than wonder if you forgot them. It would rather see your anger than be faced with your silence. Because silence means they don't matter anymore. And that is their worst nightmare. So stop giving them reactions. Stop checking their page. Stop looking for clues that they regret it. Because the moment you step back and focus on yourself, that's when the real shift happens. They start checking your page instead. They start wondering if they were ever as important as they thought. They start feeling the emptiness of their own choices. And that moment, my friends, that's when they realize they lost something real. But by the time they figure it out, you won't even care. So say it with me. I do not react. I do not chase. I disappear. Write it in the comments. Own it. Live it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that your silence is your power. And trust me, what's coming next? It's going to make sure they never see you the same way again. Stay tight. We're just getting started. Number 5. When their new relationship starts falling apart. Imagine this. You're watching a brand new house being built. It looks stunning. Modern design, huge windows, expensive decor. From the outside, it's everything someone could ever want. But what no one notices, the foundation is cracked. At first, everything seems fine. The paint is fresh, the floors shine, and the new owners walk around acting like they have it all. But little by little, the cracks start to show. A small leak here, a door that won't close properly, a shift in the walls, and then, one day, when they least expect it, the whole thing collapses. That, my friends, is exactly what's happening with their new relationship. Right now, it looks perfect. The smiles, the hand-holding, the happy couple posts, designed to make it look like they found something better than you. They want the world to see their upgrade. They want you to believe that they moved on without a second thought. But what they don't realize, the foundation they built this on is already cracking. Because relationships built on betrayal, they don't last. At first, everything feels exciting. The new person is fresh, different, a temporary escape from the guilt they refuse to face. But what happens when the novelty wears off? What happens when the same problems, the same insecurities, the same toxic patterns start creeping back in? Because make no mistake, they didn't change. They didn't suddenly become a better partner overnight. They didn't magically develop loyalty, honesty, or emotional depth just because they found someone new. They brought the same issues, the same flaws, the same baggage into their new situation. And soon, that exciting new relationship starts feeling a little too familiar. The same arguments, the same frustrations, the same emptiness they once felt with you. Except now, they don't have you to blame. Because here's the truth they refuse to accept. The problem was never you. The problem was them. Right now, they're still in the honeymoon phase. That period where everything feels perfect, where their new person is still exciting, where they're convincing themselves that they made the right choice. But that phase, it always ends. And when it does, when real life kicks in, when their new relationship starts showing its flaws, that's when they'll feel it. The regret, the doubt, the creeping realization that they threw away something real for something temporary. And that's when the comparisons start. They'll start thinking about the way you understood them without them having to say a word. The way you made them feel safe, like home. The way you gave them a kind of love that wasn't just about thrill, but about depth. And suddenly, their so-called upgrade doesn't feel like an upgrade anymore. At first, they won't admit it. No one does. They'll try to push the thoughts away. They'll double down on pretending to be happy. They'll laugh louder, post more, overcompensate in every way possible. But deep down, they know. They know they made a mistake. They know they chased excitement instead of stability. They know they mistook a distraction for love. And by the time they realize it, you'll be too far ahead to care. Because while they were busy chasing the next thrill, you were leveling up, you were healing, you were building yourself into someone they will never have access to again. And that is the real loss. So stop checking their page. Stop wondering if their new relationship is better than what you had. Stop thinking they got away with betraying you. Because they didn't. They just stepped into the next mistake they'll have to live with. And you're stepping into a life where their absence isn't even noticed. So say it with me. I do not compete. I do not compare. I rise. Write it in the comments. Own it. Live it. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you are done believing in illusions. And trust me, what's coming next? It's going to make sure they never see you the same way again. Stay tight. We're just getting started. Number 6. The moment they regret everything. Imagine walking through a crowded street, music playing, lights flashing, people laughing. The energy is electric. You're caught up in the moment, enjoying the distractions, feeling like nothing else matters. But then, suddenly, everything goes silent. The music stops, the crowd thins, the lights fade, and now you're standing there, alone, in the cold, realizing just how empty everything around you really is. That's exactly what happens when the regret kicks in. It doesn't hit them immediately. No, at first, they're too caught up in the thrill of their so-called freedom. They're laughing louder, posting more, trying harder than ever to convince themselves and the world that they made the right choice. But one day, something will trigger a memory of you. It might be a song on the radio, a familiar scent in the air, a random joke that only you would understand, and suddenly, that new situation won't feel so perfect anymore. The person they left you for won't feel so exciting. The happiness they were flaunting won't feel so real. And that little voice inside their head, the one they've been trying to silence, will finally start whispering, "Did I make a mistake?" And that thought, it will haunt them. Because here's the truth they never saw coming. You were never replaceable. They thought you were just another chapter in their story, a moment in time they could leave behind without consequence. But what they failed to realize, you weren't just a chapter. You were the whole damn book. And now they're stuck rereading old pages, searching for the parts they didn't appreciate when they had the chance. At first, they'll try to ignore it. They'll tell themselves they're fine. They'll keep posting, keep pretending, keep trying to force the illusion that their life is better without you. But the truth? The truth has a way of creeping in when you least expect it, because regret doesn't hit like a lightning bolt. It doesn't strike all at once. No, regret is slow. It's a drip, drip, drip of realization that builds over time. It starts with missing your presence, then missing your voice, then missing the way you made them feel, safe, understood, loved. And before they know it, they're staring at their phone, tempted to send a message. They're scrolling through old photos, trying to remember the way things used to be. They're lying awake at night, wondering if they still have a chance. But by the time they realize what they lost, you will have already outgrown them. Because here's the part they never expected. You didn't stay stuck. You didn't waste your time waiting for them to wake up. You didn't lower your worth, hoping they'd finally see it. No, while they were out there chasing distractions, you were becoming something greater, stronger, wiser, unreachable. And nothing haunts a person more than realizing that the one thing they took for granted is now the one thing they can never have again. So stop waiting for their regret. Stop wondering if they'll come back. Stop checking for signs that they miss you. Because whether it's today, tomorrow, or years from now, they will regret it. And by the time they do, you won't even care. So say it with me. I do not wait. I do not look back. I rise. Write it in the comments. Own it. Live it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you are done holding space for people who never deserved you in the first place. And trust me, what's coming next? It's going to make sure they never see you the same way again. Stay tight. We're just getting started. Number 7. The power of becoming unreachable. Imagine this. You walk past your favorite store. the one you used to visit all the time, the one you assumed would always be there, always open, always waiting. But today, something's different. The doors are locked, the lights are off, the sign on the window says, "Permanently closed." And now, you want it more than ever. That's exactly what happens when you become unreachable. The greatest revenge isn't proving yourself. It isn't trying to make them jealous. It isn't hoping they regret what they did. No, the real power move is making sure they can never reach you again. Because here's what they never expected. They thought you would always be an option. They thought they could betray you, replace you, walk away without a second thought, and still have access to you whenever they wanted. A text here, a "How have you been?" message there, a like on an old post, just to see if you're still watching. Because people like them, they don't actually want to lose you, they just want to know you're still there. But when they finally come looking, when they check your page, hoping to see something that proves you still care, when they send that casual message, expecting you to reply like nothing ever happened, when they reach for you, thinking they still have a hold on you, and they find nothing, that's when they feel the loss the most. Because silence is the loudest response you could ever give. No anger, no explanations, no long messages about how they hurt you, just nothing. And let me tell you something, nothing haunts a person more than knowing they lost access to someone who once gave them everything. They don't panic when you argue. They don't panic when you beg for closure. They don't even panic when you block them, because blocking, that still means you feel something. But when you simply disappear, when you go silent, not out of bitterness, but out of pure indifference, that's when the reality of their choices starts closing in on them. Did they really move on without me? Why haven't they reacted? Do I really mean nothing to them anymore? And that thought, it will eat away at them. Because the moment they realize they can no longer reach you, that's when they understand exactly what they lost. And by then, it's too damn late. Because here's the truth, you are no longer someone they can access. Your energy, off limits. Your presence, unavailable. Your life, thriving without them. And that is the kind of loss that never stops haunting a person. So stop waiting for their regret. Stop checking for their apology. Stop hoping they'll come back just so you can prove how much better you're doing without them. Because the real flex, the real power move, is disappearing so completely that they have no idea where to find you. And trust me, when they realize that, it'll hit harder than any words ever could. So say it with me. I am unreachable. I am untouchable. I rise. Write it in the comments. Own it. Live it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you are done being available to people who never deserved you in the first place. And trust me, what's coming next, it's going to make sure they never see you the same way again. Stay tight. We're just getting started. Number 8. The final blow, when karma completes its work. Imagine a runner in a race. At the start, they're ahead, full of confidence, sprinting forward, thinking they've left everyone behind. They're laughing, celebrating too soon, convinced they've won. But what they don't see is you. Steady, focused, unbothered. Because while they were busy running away, you were running toward growth, toward healing, toward a version of yourself they will never have access to again. And as the race goes on, something shifts. Their speed slows, their excitement fades, and suddenly they realize they're no longer ahead, they're falling behind. That, my friends, is exactly how karma works. By the time they feel it, by the time reality forces them to sit in the consequences of their choices, you won't even be in the same league anymore. At first, they won't notice. They'll still be in denial, still convincing themselves that they did the right thing, still avoiding the truth staring them in the face. But one day, it hits them. The regret, the emptiness, the undeniable fact that they lost something irreplaceable. And no, it won't be some dramatic movie-style realization where they fall to their knees, begging to get you back. That's not how karma works. It's quieter. It's them scrolling through their phone at midnight, staring at your name, realizing they have no right to message you anymore. It's them seeing you thrive from a distance, knowing they played themselves. It's them standing in a room full of people, feeling completely alone, because they let go of the one person who actually understood them. And the worst part, there's nothing they can do about it. Because you didn't chase, you didn't beg, you didn't seek revenge, you simply moved forward. And that is the final blow. Because nothing punishes a betrayer more than realizing the person they once had power over is now untouchable. They will look back. They will wish they could undo it. They will feel it in ways they never imagined. But by the time karma completes its work, you will have already won. Because the real revenge was never about making them suffer. So folks, at the end of the day, karma always delivers. You don't have to chase, beg, or prove your worth, because time will do that for you. By the time they realize what they lost, you'll be too far ahead to care. So keep rising, keep growing, and let life handle the rest. If this video hit home, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. And I will see you in the next video.